This is Brian Waller, Zoning Board of Appeals Chairman. As a preliminary matter, we'll start by confirming that remote members are present and able to be heard and can hear us. So when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mr. Yeomans?
Yes.
And I believe we have Mr. Hill.
Did we lose Dan?
He's there.
But we're only seeing Bill.
I'm here.
There he goes.
All right, thank you. So good evening. It is 7:03 p.m. This open meeting of the Grafton Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted both remotely and in person, consistent with the chapter 22 of the Acts of 22, which extends remote meeting protocols through March 31st, 2025. This meeting is convening via Zoom video conference and in person as posted on the meeting agenda, which can be found on the Town of Grafton website. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Please note that your remote participation will be recorded and may be viewed by others in the future. Let's see. Anyone on the phone can use the raise hand feature in Zoom, or if you're simply on the phone, the meeting administrator will assist you with any comments. So for all speakers, please state your name and address prior to the comments. And each vote taken will be done by a roll call vote. So this time I'll turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Bill McCusker.
Thank you. So we're opening the continuation of case number
898.
898, which is the Reserve at Misco Hills, the Chapter 40B project off of Upton Road. I think the target for today was waivers, but do you have anything new or updated or anything we want to present to us beforehand?
For the record, this is Clay Williams with Eastland Partners. I think for today, it's probably best to go over waivers. I know that Travis is working on an updated site plan, and he probably has a few updates with some of the changes, but they haven't
Okay.
been 100% finalized, so I
Okay.
think waivers is probably the way to go.
All right. Before we dive into the waivers, I just want to communicate to the board. I mentioned this at the last meeting, but it's important. I think I say it during this public hearing. Excuse me. I did meet on site with the applicant, the chief of police, Department of Public Works, fire department, to go over the traffic mitigation that was proposed by our peer review. This is pretty much the same thing I did on Upton on Pleasant Street. But we hadn't necessarily discussed it as a board and necessarily had the authorization if I needed it by the board. But I just felt that it was probably the right thing to do. So I did. And, I think coming out of that meeting, I think there was a couple of things that were recommended for mitigation, but, I think everyone, Public Works, fire, police, everyone's okay with the plan and what's been proposed. So really nothing eventful. I don't think anything eventful came out of that meeting, other than just make sure everyone was on board and okay with what's going to happen there.
And
Bill, I'm sorry. I gotta leave the room. I cold and I got a bloody nose. I'll be back.
So let's, I think we need to recess and give Peter some time to recover. So let's call this recess right now. I don't know what that means to you in the tonight's meeting. Mr. Adams has left for the evening, so he'll probably have to review the tape and sign the Mullen Rule document. But for the rest of us on this meeting, let's move forward. So I had briefly talked about the traffic meeting. Did you want to add to that what I said?
No, it's pretty good.
Okay, all right.
I just had a subsequent meeting with the fire department. I was just going to give an update,
Right.
and that kind of cued into Travis's
Okay.
updated plans.
Okay, so I wanted to get that on the table so I didn't forget about it, make sure the board's aware and full disclosure. We can dive into waivers, or if you guys want to get into anything else before we get into waivers?
I just had one
Yep.
question. So I know at the last meeting, there, for both Pleasant Street and, this one, there was a discussion with the fire department about the chairs, the automated lift chairs or whatever they're called.
That's
And they
correct,
were
yeah.
thinking about it or reviewing it,
Yeah, well, we just received a new email from them. I think it's an email in regards to Pleasant Street, which isn't on tonight. However, they kind of gave the go ahead as to original plans were okay, not wanting the chair. They liked it, but so we'll probably most likely make a donation regardlessly of something else to the safety committee. But I can report that we did meet with the fire department at Upton Street, and we do have a walkout at Upton Street. And one of the concerns was a similar scenario like Pleasant Street. However, in this condition, there's actually a lower parking lot on that particular unit. So the walkouts on one of the buildings actually has a full parking lot. So that all goes away on that particular issue. Then in talks with obviously the fire department, we started talking about, of course, the famous parking, how many parking spots and signs like that. And that's what Travis and Turning Point Engineering is redoing, getting rid of the garages and, of course, changing them all to parking spots. And some other revisions also on site near the community center for more parking spots. And then we designated where all the hydrant locations would be that they wanted. So we've noted that as well. And Turning Point's making all those recommendations. And once they have those final plans, which we expect in another week or so, we'll forward it over to the fire department for the swing path analysis for the fire trucks access, and then we'll get another follow-up report with those guys as well.
Great. All right, so we can go through the waivers, I guess. Do you want to lead us through these? or-
Sure. I know a lot of these are probably redundant from what we've talked about
Yep.
on Pleasant Street, so I'll try to move pretty quick.
Yep.
The first one's multifamily use. We're in an agricultural zone looking for a waiver to allow multifamily dwellings.
Yep. Yep, that's expected.
The next one is maximum building height of 45 feet. We've actually learned from our final architecture that would be 47 feet. That would only apply to the walkout units on the low side. The high side would be 37 feet. So we would need to change the wording, I think, on that one.
Okay, yeah, so change the wording, and, identify the unit, I would think.
Yeah, so would you want specific units that waiver's tied to?
I think that's we have that knowledge, let's just incorporate it.
The next one is number of principal structures. Actually, this one needs to be reworded. It appears it's been carried over from Pleasant Street to allow 6 principal structures on the site, as we're proposing 6 buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
So the other building there, the, whatever that little one is, does
That's the leasing office.
that count? What do we do on Pleasant Street? Cause you got a similar building in Pleasant Street.
Yeah, we said 4 on Pleasant Street, which would be 5 if we included the lease office, so maybe we go to 7 here to make sure that that's included in the waiver.
I would think that that's a principal structure, right? That's not a shed. I don't think that's an accessory. I have no idea what an accessory would be in a multifamily like this, but
I would just identify that you've got 6 residential structures and 1 leasing office, just
you
to
go.
make it clear.
Sure.
perfect.
So the next one is building spacing, which is actually tied to the maximum building height. Now that we're going to 47 feet, we request a waiver to allow less than the 47, to kind of narrow that in. This location, we have since moved building 4 in this direction here. So we would request 25 feet of spacing between those buildings.
So again, I think it's helpful if it just says allow 25 feet. You know, and if we can identify buildings as well, I think that helps.
Sure.
And, obviously we want to make sure the fire department's okay with that. You know, those aren't, that's the corner, the two buildings in the corner, right?
It's actually these two here.
Oh, those two,
Chuck.
yeah, so,
We slid it this way. There's actually more room between those two corners than there is between these two.
yeah, so we just want to make sure the fire department's okay, that they have room to get a ladder or whatever they need to do.
Yep, we'll confirm that with them. So the next one is off-street parking. Previously, we discussed additional parking, based on our original counts. Right now, we're right around 1.94 spaces. So we've gotten there by eliminating all of the garages on site, turning that into traditional parking. We've also gained some, in the leasing office area, so the leasing office actually moved to the parking. Parking moved uphill of that, we were able to gain some spaces there. Some elevation changes with the buildings, we were able to gain one additional space in each one of these islands. So right now, we're about 1.94.
Okay, I'm just making a note, you know, I'm just saying TBD, the next set of plans, so.
Sure.
Let's just see what comes out in the next set of plans.
Yep. So the next one is parking, waiver to allow parking areas to be located closer to the side and rear lot lines. I was looking at this a little bit today. This wouldn't be necessary on this set of plans here because we meet it. There's no parking in front of the building. However, you will see on the revised plan that there's a little bus shelter and some parking that would be available for that, as well as access to the pump station. So that parking technically would be within the front yard.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I might point out
Yep.
it's not for overnight residential parking. It, in my opinion, the parking functions a little differently than parking for the dwelling units themselves. It's kind of hard to have a bus shelter not in the front yard setback, and the parking
Yeah.
that goes with it.
understood.
Next one, parking areas containing more than 5 spaces shall include or be bordered by at least one tree of 2-inch caliper for every 5 spaces. So that's, I guess it depends how you read that. We have sidewalks bordering the parking in a lot of areas, so technically the tree's not bordering it. What I will say is we provide 80 trees. If you do the math on the parking count, I think it requires 58, so we're well in excess of the trees we would need based on the parking, and that's not including shrubs and ground plantings as well.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yep.
may, on the right column, I'd recommend that, as depicted on sheets L 1.0 and L 2.0, the two together make up the full layout of the landscaping.
okay, thank you.
Good catch, Jeff.
2.0 and that?
Yes. They already have L 1.0 and L 2.0.
So the next one, as we previously discussed, electric signs are not permitted within this zone. We had previously talked about maybe a decorative backlit sign or ground lit, nothing neon or anything like that.
I think we called it illuminated.
Illuminated sign.
Yeah, okay, I knew we spent some time talking about it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the zoning bylaw does have a definition for electric sign. An electric sign to me is an internally illuminated sign. So my point is, a sign illuminated from the outside does not seem to meet the definition of an electric sign, unless I'm barking up the wrong tree, but the definition is very specific of internally illuminated.
But if we change it to allow an illuminated sign, I would imagine that covers what they have in mind.
Yeah, as long as it's externally illuminated.
What if
The
it-
light's not projecting out toward the viewer, it's being projected onto the sign. I think that's the big difference with the definition.
Something will be backlit, maybe.
That's what I was thinking, backlit.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that prevent a
That would
backlit
be
sign?
an internally illuminated
right.
Yeah.
sign then.
But it would be lower impact, I would think, than just a spotlight on a sign, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in signs, but I see an internally illuminated sign as the light is emitted from within the sign and lights the,
Yeah.
yeah. and that's what's prohibited. And, but if that's the wish of the board to allow that waiver, I just want to make sure we're clear on the definition. I see if it was illuminated from the front and the light was projected onto the surface, that doesn't meet the definition of an electric sign, and a waiver wouldn't be needed in that case. That's where I was, trying to go with that.
Oh, a waiver wouldn't be needed, so a sign, an externally illuminated sign is allowed in this zone?
I'm not sure about that. I read only the definition
Of
of
electric.
electric sign. I will find it and read it to the board.
And I don't imagine you're talking about an internally illuminated sign.
No.
Yeah, so I think we're okay if we just say an illuminated sign. It's a little vague, I suppose, but I think that's probably okay.
I'm okay with it.
Externally illuminated sign, I think, might be very clear that internally illuminated is prohibited. Apologize for not finding these any quicker. Tab it.
I agree with Jeff on that. I think it should say externally illuminated.
Yeah, I'm definitely okay with adding the externally. But,
Section 2.3. Sorry.
all right, let's plan to change it to externally illuminated while Jeff looks if he finds something that,
Yeah, I'm
Got
fine
it.
with
Got it.
that because it could be backlit and
Yeah.
still external. Still backlit is external, I believe. So.
Electric sign, any sign which is internally illuminated
Right.
by incandescent or fluorescent lamps, light emitting diodes, electroluminescent material, luminous bulbs, or other means of converting electricity into light. I think the key word there is internally illuminated.
yeah. Okay,
So then is that waiver still required?
I think the waiver's still required.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what they're proposing, I just want to be clear on the definition.
Well, I think what we're talking about is waiver to allow an externally illuminated sign at the entrance of the project.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Next, waiver to allow construction sign up to 32 square feet for the project during construction. Obviously, that has contact information necessary during construction.
yeah, that's fine.
Next one, section 5.2.2.1, waiver to allow the construction of 152 units on 10.3 acres of land. Obviously, the nature of the project being a 40B. Section 5.2.2.1.
Just, hang on a second. Has it always been 152? I thought it was 150.
It was 152.
152.
It's always been 152?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for my records as well.
okay.
Next, each building shall not exceed 150 feet in any direction. So we have two types of buildings. One is 153 feet long, and then the two larger buildings, building 1 and 2, are 176 feet in length.
Yep.
Next one, waiver to allow less than 15-foot wide area of landscaping along a portion of the easterly and southerly lot lines. Although substantial landscape plantings are proposed, some areas are less than 15 feet due to proposed grading and or drainage features. So those areas are kind of along this property line, and then this little corner in the back. There will be plantings there. It's hard to say if it would be the 15 and then I guess the definition of landscaping. It's gonna be grass with plantings, not quite sure if it would be the 15 feet based on the grading, and then the drainage, there'd be some drainage behind those buildings as well.
Travis,
So-
you just need to get closer
Sure,
to the mic.
sorry.
So are the buildings 15 feet off? Like that corner?
Buildings are, yes.
It's 15 feet or less?
No, the building is greater than 15, so this
Okay.
is saying the landscaping would need to be that 15.
Yeah, I think, and maybe I'm out to lunch on this one. I think what they don't want is, well, concrete or pavement or something like that, right? And you're gonna have something, dirt with something growing in it.
Yeah, there'll either be grass, undisturbed
Yeah.
land and or plantings.
Yeah, so
We can revisit
so
that. and
what's
if
the
we-
waiver? If you have 15 feet of stuff,
Yeah, there's 15 feet, we're disturbing that, within that 15 feet.
but it doesn't say,
Now,
we're not talking about a no disturb zone.
Yep.
When you're done, you'll have 15 feet, at least 15 feet of dirt with stuff growing on it, for lack of better terms. I would think that's.
Yes. We'll dive into that, and if we need to.
All right, so
get rid of
this-
it, we'll
all right.
do that.
So I'm just gonna make a note, may not be needed.
Yep.
Okay,
Next is general bylaws, general wetlands protection bylaw.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if I could interrupt on zoning bylaw.
yeah,
I've got to scratch my head on the date of the zoning bylaws. This waiver request letter and Graves Engineering's peer review letter both spoke to zoning bylaw last amended June 20th, 2020. It came to my attention in August of this year that there's a set of zoning bylaw amended through May 8th, 2023, which I believe was before this 40B application was filed. And I just want to make sure that we're citing the right set of zoning bylaw. I did not go through to see if there was any changes to these sections. I suspect there wasn't, but nevertheless, I've got two different dates of zoning bylaw.
I think it's an excellent catch. If there is a more recent than 2020, and I'd be a little surprised if there's been no zoning changes between June of 2020 and May of 2023, to be honest, but, I mean, yeah, May 8th precedes, does it precede?
Yeah, we are, the date I have on the title page is June 7th.
Yeah,
I thought it was June, okay.
yeah.
So it looks like that there may be a different set of bylaws that, we'll have to double check, but I doubt there were changes. And for the board's record on other 40A cases going forward, please note that the zoning bylaw that I downloaded in August at the very bottom of the cover page says, it's amended through May 8th, 2023. Reflects changes at town meeting at May 2023, approved by the Attorney General's office on TBD. But today, I went to the town's website to check on zoning bylaw, and there's another zoning bylaw that has the amended date through September 1, 2021, which is the day
Wait,
that the
September 1, 2021?
I'm sorry, 2023,
Right, okay.
which is the date that the Attorney General's office approved the amendments based upon the May 8th, 2023 meeting. What I'm telling you is what's on the website today and what I got in August have two different dates on them, but they're based on the same town meeting vote, which I went like this and said, I don't know what to
Yeah,
do.
so what happens is they're voted on, they're accepted by town meeting, then they're submitted to the state. So that's why the TBD date on it, cause I went through this when I first started here.
Yep.
Which means I need to find out what changed and give you guys new pages. But then the September date that's when the Attorney General looked at it, wrote off on it, and approved it.
Yep.
So that's all that means. But I'll look through and see what changed and just give you guys the new pages, cause they were minor changes, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Well, there's the whole thing for Holden Farm,
Yes,
but that, I mean, that doesn't affect this, but.
yeah.
Katrina, there were changes between, what was put out after May 8th and what was put out September 1?
Oh.
Is that what you're saying?
No. So what happens is, so the town voted on it May 8th. So that's the date, and it says approved by the Attorney General's office to TBD.
Yep.
So the Attorney General did it on September 1st.
Right.
So that's why they put that should not have been September 1st.
That's
That
exactly.
should be May 8th, so I will let
Thank
them
you.
know.
That's
Yes.
exactly where I was going
That
with
should
that.
say, this should still say May 8th, and it should say September 1st on here, so I will find out who made that change and get it fixed
Thank you.
tomorrow or Tuesday.
That's the point. Thank
Yep,
you.
got it. I know what you were saying now.
But if,
But to you, your turning point, I think you need to
Scour those and.
make sure of which version, so I've just made a note that we need to double check the version that we're looking at here.
Yep.
So the date would be May 8th, 2023, we presume.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
it's changed.
Yep.
agreed.
And if you
Sorry to
actually,
interrupt.
sorry, but if you actually look at the very last page of the bylaws, it tells you what the changes were.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what you just have to go look in and
Sure.
see.
Yeah, they've been real good about tracking, what the changes are.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good catch, Jeff.
Yeah.
And by the way, I suspect that applies to Pleasant Street as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, waiver for filing fees, I think we said no on that.
Nope. Next one is waiver to allow the ZBA to have authority to administer, implement, and enforce the stormwater management bylaw.
I think that was okay, right? What it has to be.
Next one has to do with a filing fee again.
Did we, excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
did we skip one
which one?
on regarding the, no disturb zone?
You talking about the landscaping?
No,
5223?
after the filing fee,
It's on the next page.
then there was the section 5 plans,
No, that's next.
That's next.
That's next.
C5A,
We were just getting there.
We're just getting there.
That was next
Oh.
up. So we just said
Okay.
no to the filing fees for
Okay,
Wetlands
got
Protection
it.
Act.
got it.
Okay.
The next one, waiver requested to disturb within the 25-foot buffer zone.
Okay.
As we discussed last time, we're working to pull everything out of the 25-foot buffer zone, with the exception of the pipe and some associated grading, just for that stormwater basin, but the grading in the basin itself is outside of the
Okay.
25-foot.
Thank you.
However, we'll still need the waiver for some minor work within that buffer zone.
Okay.
Next one, allow the zoning board to be the administrating authority, stormwater management bylaw again.
Yep.
So,
No on the waiver of the fees. Conservation. So wait a minute, what's straddling page 3 and 4?
yeah, that's what I'm trying to find.
So I think it's all one. Is that- that's the
Application
thing?
It's the
fees,
fee
yeah,
waiver.
it's the fee.
Okay, all right.
So wait a minute, on section 3, there was two things. Administration and permit procedures, right at the bottom of page 3.
So there's administration, we said, okay on the administration.
How about
Right.
permit procedures and waiver to not require application fees for the administration?
Yeah,
of-
we said no
that's
on
out.
that.
We, okay.
All right, so now we're on to subdivision rules and regs.
Yep. So obviously this isn't a subdivision, however, as we previously discussed, we've added some of these components in, to the waiver request. The first one is the pavement width. Town of Grafton requires 30-foot of pavement width, on minor streets. We're requesting a waiver to allow 26 feet. And that would be the roadway portion of this up, into the parking areas. So for that small section, it would be 26 feet wide. That helps reduce impervious area as well. Maximum centerline grade, waiver to allow more than the 4% maximum centerline grade. We're proposing 4% leveling area and then an 8% climb up into that parking lot up in here. The regulations call for a
So
one.
I'm gonna
Yep.
stop you for a minute, because for some reason I had everything flipped over, and, we talked about, for some reason I thought Chad was talking about that building, I'm gonna say the second one from the left, having a walkout, but actually that's not the case. The grade's going up at that point.
Yeah, so this grade's going up here. So this part of this building is at an upper level, and then this part is actually at a lower level. So it is a walkout.
Oh, so the walkout's in the
It's
front,
on the front.
the walkout's in the front.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
back of the building, but it's
It's,
the front.
yeah, kind of the, yeah.
The walkout's in the left as we're looking at this picture.
Yeah,
That's correct, yeah,
Alright,
yeah,
got
sorry, yeah.
and that's actually the case on building one as well.
All right,
That is a walkout on that side.
okay, does that building one have the problem with access?
It would potentially have the same problem that.
Yeah, that it would actually, yeah, that would have it. However, that one goes right out to the street.
Right.
So that was the only difference they had with that one.
Adjacent to the
Is
street.
that just adjacent to the street. So it's a similar situation. It's not like the woods or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, all right, got it. All right, I'm sorry, I just
No, that's a good
Got
clarification. I
flipped
should have
over.
explained that, yeah.
Why do you need a waiver for 8%? I thought planning board allowed 8%.
The waiver is for a major street or a street in a multifamily versus a minor street in a subdivision. The minor street in a subdivision does allow 8. The regulation they're citing requires less, the max is less than 8%.
Okay, okay.
Next one is leveling area, so the requirement is to have 100 feet from the intersection with a max grade of 3%. We're asking for a waiver of 4% for a length of 50 feet before transitioning to that 8%. That's due to the existing topography, try to reduce the cuts on the upper sections of the site.
So, if you're confident that we're dealing with, I'm going back to the previous one for a minute. If you're confident that it's 8%, let's put in allow for 8% or some words like that.
Sure.
Okay, and then it's a 4% grade, essentially between or just before.
Yeah, coming off the existing pavement for a length of
Yeah.
50 feet would be 4% transition to 8.
Okay.
Next one has to do with protection of natural features. We're asking for a waiver to allow clearing to occur as shown on the approved plan. Obviously, that's plan is coming.
Yeah, I think we've been okay with this.
And I guess with that, Jeff, one of your comments previously was to locate some of those larger trees, which we have done on the site. So that'll be part of the next submission as well. Next one is utility location and placement. Waiver requested due to multifamily nature of the project with varying driveway configurations around the site. Utilities will be installed as shown on the plans. It's not like a subdivision where you're trying to maintain that off pavement or right away or
Yep.
things like that.
Did we come up with anything for off-site sewer yet?
What we learned is they will not allow a tie-in to a force main.
I know that. You had already said that.
Okay. What information? Are you saying for the pump station itself or?
Well, just what do the neighbors do for sewer down the road? And I know it's a difficult situation, because if you put in the pipes and it would go into your pump, you'd be pumping somebody else's stuff.
Right. And the town doesn't want anything to do with that pump station, so.
Correct.
The developer would be the ones maintaining it. Now, if you're adding public sewer into that, it gets a little
Right.
messy adding neighbors.
Is there a way to do that, and maybe you would know, Jeff, that if the neighbors did hook into a line they provided,
Peter, closer to the mic.
if the neighbors did hook into a line that they provided, they could be charged for the pumping fee until such point as the town ever reconfigured it to their own pumping station? Is
I'm
that
not
possible to even consider?
I'm not sure on the financial side of the sewage. Certainly could talk to you about force mains, gravity and so forth and pump stations, but I need to stay away from the financial side and who pays for what. Generally speaking, it would make sense to me that anybody using the pump station should be paying their fair share.
Right.
It's just a question of who owns what and how is the money collected, and does the sewer department, who I would assume has jurisdiction over the construction of the pump station and the force main to serve it, they might have a say, and I defer to the sewer department how to deal with the financial side. I'm sorry, I can't.
And I suppose we're only talking about, what is it, two apartment buildings and 2 houses?
As I say, there's not much there.
And there is a third house that's right on Upton Street now, but that's brand new.
But Sibley Street, I'm very familiar with the soils on Sibley Street. It has public sewer now, at least going down to South Street or Old Upton Road. 60 minute per inch perks, high groundwater up on that side.
But that only comes in from Old Upton Road, a couple of houses.
Correct.
And then it gets to a high point,
And that's it.
and that would be it anyways, I would think. And someday it'll come, God knows when, down to Meadowbrook or whatever, but
All the way to Silver Lake.
I mean, I see where you're going. I mean, we're
it's-
doing this. It's like right there, but it's not.
right.
It's not the towns. It's theirs, and you know, I can see where that would be an absolute nightmare.
It probably would.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been thinking about it quite a bit. How would you charge them? You charge them by the bedroom, but,
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it may be a
And what-
conversation to have with Paul Canoyer at some point. You know,
and then what do you do if they don't reimburse these guys? And that isn't fair.
I think it was discussed during our site walk meeting a little, and Paul kind of said, I don't see that happening, but that,
Okay,
You-
I
more than
was
happy.
thinking that conversation
Yeah.
happened, and I was like, how? I was like, how did we get onto that conversation? So it did happen.
yeah, I believe it did. You
yeah.
you're more than happy to check back in with them, but I
Yeah.
believe that was like, no, just leave the pump station by itself.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I think what Paul said was, if you do that, then we own it, and we don't want to own it.
Yeah.
I think he said something like that.
No, I'm not saying that the town should own the pump station, but
Right, but that's what I think. That's what Paul was saying is, if you end up putting other properties into it, then the town's gonna have to own it. I think that's kind of my recollection of him saying that.
yeah.
So.
And I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but unless there's a new sewer district in town run by
We do a lot of things, but I'm not interested in this.
I mean, I understand your sentiment, Peter, and it just seems.
We can say we talked about it.
Yeah, yeah.
We can say we talked.
And you know, let's be honest. I mean, you know, I guess it is kind of an industry standard to actually have stubs in the force mains and allow people to tie into a force main. I guess that's a thing
in other towns.
in other towns, but Grafton doesn't allow it. So I mean, you know, Grafton's kind of making this problem themselves a bit.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Yeah.
I think that was the result of the meeting. Yes.
Yeah.
And Grafton's not the only town. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay, other towns don't allow it.
yes.
Yeah.
Our office is dealing with another community for the same situation.
Yeah.
The solution to that is you run a gravity line alongside of it, but
Right.
which is all well and good if it's going to be a publicly owned, town-owned sewer pump station. And-
Right.
Yep.
Right. But it's not.
Right.
Okay. All right. Where were we?
Section 4.7.6, lighting, waiver requested to provide lighting as shown on the approved plan. We have yet to do a lighting plan on this, so
Yeah, but
for that one.
I think we've been okay with that.
Next one is drainage pipe material, waiver requested to allow HDPE pipe in lieu of RCP.
Yep, I think we've been okay with that.
Waiver requested to allow a minimum of 2 feet of cover for drain pipes where 4 is required.
And I guess Peter actually asked about that one on the other side. I guess we're okay with that, right?
We could have done everything there, just doubled it.
The HDP pipe and the bed, pipe material bedding around the pipe, 2 foot is fine. According to the manufacturers, pipe manufacturers.
Next one, streetlights, again, waiver requested to allow type and style of streetlights shown on the plan, which will be
There are none yet.
coming, right?
Right. I thought we had a bit of a conversation with this with Pleasant Street. Did we decide that this was not needed, or we should take the same approach that we took with Pleasant Street?
Okay, I don't know what that is, cause I was not at that meeting.
I honestly can't remember, and I don't
I honestly don't remember, so I can't
Yeah.
say myself. Quite honestly.
What I do know is our lighting plan has, manufacturer specs on it, so
Yep.
there are, specific fixtures and styles.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was lumens and things like that, and dark sky compliant things like that. So I think there's a variety of manufacturers, of course, but as long as they meet the lumens and that to make it dark sky compliant with the lighting plan, I think that's sufficient.
But I think 513.1 speaks specifically to street lights that you'd have on public streets, public
Yeah.
ways. And so I think we may have decided that just wasn't even needed.
Okay, so we can
That
keep
the
the
lighting
lighting.
plan covers what's on site. I don't think you're gonna put anything out on the streets. There
Correct.
should already be a street light at that intersection, I believe.
At the new intersection, there should be a street light, Mr. Chairman. There is lighting near the intersection that is on the development site, so it's on private property. The lighting would follow whatever's used elsewhere on that property. But there should be illumination of the new intersection, the driveway at Old Upton Street.
I think I have to move the pole too, so I could probably
Yes.
get National Grid to put a light down there.
A pole-mounted light
Yeah.
I've seen used elsewhere in this town in such a situation.
Yeah.
And the important thing is illumination.
Yep.
But I still don't think that this is necessary. I mean, if you have to put a street light on the street, then I think it needs to be conform to the type and style specified by the planning board and the select board. I mean, if you want to say,
Yes.
you know, I still think that waiver is not I don't think it's necessary, and I think if you do have to do a street light, you gotta do a street light the way they want them to do it. And I don't think that's, and I don't think your intention is to not do that. I think this is really speaking more towards the lighting inside the project. So I'm gonna say that this goes away, and if for some reason it doesn't, let's talk some more about it when we get to finals.
The last one's probably the same scenario, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting. It sure looked like the same thing.
Slightly different wording section, but
It shall be located in the grass plot or median. I don't think that applies at all.
right.
All right, not needed. Okay. All right. Seems fairly straightforward. So at this point, I guess we're waiting for final plans. We just went through waivers. It seems, and I don't want to put too much pressure on Dan, but it seems like it's almost in your court, Dan, to start the draft decision. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I'm a little hamstrung because I wasn't at the last meeting, but I think based on I'm trying to get caught up and review the
Well,
the submittals.
hang on a second. The last meeting, if you're talking about last week, we didn't have a meeting.
No, the one before.
You weren't here?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I'm reviewing all the submittals, but we really need to have a response from the applicant on both Jeff's letters and Kevin Dondre's letter. I mean, Kevin had several suggestions for follow-up. And
Okay.
so I don't know if that's happened.
I haven't gotten any.
No, I don't think it has, Dan.
It's in the works. I understand.
You know, so it might be a
Okay.
little bit premature
Yep.
to do a decision. The sewer commission, Paul Canoyer had made a point that there's capacity in general for the sewer system, but he said that somebody still needs to evaluate capacity at the connection points. So has that been done? Do we know that there's capacity where this project is going to connect to the sewer system?
I've been waiting for that for 6 months, so.
This must connect at the base of Pigeon Hill Drive?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. I forgot the town's consultant, but again, with the meeting with Mr. McCusker, I believe Paul said that it was at their review agents on both projects. He didn't seem to think it was an issue. High unlikelihood. However, the people are still reviewing it. I'll check in with Paul as well. So
And we need fire chief review of the revised plans.
yeah,
Yeah,
it seems yeah, absolutely, Mr. Hill. It's a little premature. We'll pass in the full set of plans and then refine them, and then we should be in better shape the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, so then, I mean, is there any other issues that we need to talk about? Anyone on the board have any questions? Any comments from the public? I can't tell if Katrina's looking or,
No, there's no comments
Okay,
from the
all right,
public.
all right.
There's no public on here.
okay.
It's just
right, okay.
us.
How big is the force main? Do you remember? Offhand? Is it 4-inch, 6-inch?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably in the 2-inch to 3-inch area.
Yeah, I was thinking
Probably around 2 to 3
3 in
inch.
my head.
2 to 3, that's all?
I'm just guessing based upon the size of the project.
And the exit leaving that Pigeon Hill manhole must be an 8-inch, I would assume.
I would
but-
expect at least 8 inch, probably not much bigger. It's the end of the line and everything's downhill
Right,
on Route 140 after that, so.
shouldn't be a problem there.
Well, maybe not there, but as you go downstream to where you finally get to the main that runs parallel with the Quinsigamon River, that's, I think, what the sewer department's consultant will be looking at. For example, once flow gets up into the common or even downhill of the common, they want to make sure they've got capacity for peaking occurrences with what's been connected and probably looking at future growth as well.
Okay, so it seems to me that what we need next is the final submittals and review,
Yes.
right? So we need time for, I guess it starts with how much time do you folks need for the next set of submittals?
Yep.
And then, 2 or 3 weeks for review. What do we need?
I think we need probably 2 weeks to be safe, and then Jeff, I would imagine we want a couple weeks.
Please.
What, do we know what the deadline is in this case?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Through the chair, I have it charted out to be December 26th would be the drop dead for the 180 days.
That's what I have too.
Okay. So December 26th, Dan.
Right. I will not be here that night.
Neither will I.
Yeah.
If we go 4 weeks out, it's November 2nd. For some reason, I just would feel a little bit more comfortable maybe doing the 9th. But either the 2nd or 9th. Anyone have any opinions on either one of those days?
This is November.
November, yeah.
I think the ninth might be better just because if Jeff at Graves maybe does a review in 2 weeks, we might have another spare week to make comments on top of his,
Yeah.
make revisions, and if it comes to the meeting, that meeting would be just that much better, I think.
I may not be here, but I can either see if Amber can cover it or set everything up for you.
Yeah. Anyone have a problem with the 9th?
Nope.
Yeah. All right, so let's, all right, if there's nothing else, then, we'll entertain a motion to continue case number, was it 898?
Mm-hmm.
Case number 898 to November 9th at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, and, any discussion? Hearing none. So who votes on this? Are you a sitting member? Who we
She's an
missing?
alternate.
You're an
an
alternate.
alternate.
Oh, but Kay's not here today. She's gonna do them all in. So yeah, all right, so it'll just be the 4 of us that need to vote. Mr. Yeomans, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Vice Chairman votes yes. We'll see you guys November 9th at 7 PM.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, I turn the gavel back over to the chairman.
All right, so the only other thing we have on the agenda is minutes.
Yeah, because I'm looking on.
Planning board.
So we'll start with what, August 31st?
Right here. Let's keep, I'll stay with you if you want. No. Well, the other guy I work with found it here. I found it up here. Go here.
We have changes on this, I left it on my printer.
The chair, I just have one comment on the 31st.
There.
Yes,
All right, because it never got even posted
Go
on my
ahead.
page, the town page, so I'll take care of that.
The other one might
On the main page,
have Natalia.
shared accessory building bylaw, it says, Mr. Berger, give history, gives, plural.
Are we on August 31st?
yep.
So did you get what Bill just said?
On a high point, that last line, Chairman acknowledges receipt of public comments from Nancy Piccone. Attached project page on town website. But we're not open to public comment.
Wait, where? Oh.
Okay.
Great.
Motion made by Mr. Adams in High Point Estates.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm trying to figure out what, at the very bottom of page 1, as it goes into page 2, what's that? All right, so question, does the board have the ability to grant a waiver on the slope of the sidewalk? Answer, no. Must be AAB, Architectural Access Board, finalized?
No, that must have just been something that carried over.
So probably what you're trying to say is must be AAB approved.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the first page,
Yep.
finalized goes away at the top of the second page, all right.
Yep.
I assume Ethel Jaggi was talking about the, traffic study?
Yes.
So let's put traffic in there.
Okay.
Good
Good
night.
night, Jeff.
Night, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, we did a lot of minutes, I think.
We did. Cut up in all the minutes.
I don't know if everyone's done looking, but I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of August 31st, 2023 as amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Do a roll call vote. Mr. Yeomans,
Yes.
Ms. Bizwas,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. August 31st.
There's a missing space.
So on to the
Where?
September 21st.
Okay.
At the very top, a meeting of the zoning board of appeals, that should say Thursday, September 21st.
Yeah. Oh, got it. Yep.
I have a question in addition to the case 892, the first paragraph
Yep.
regarding subsurface recharge. I would like to add discussion after the first sentence. Discussion revolved around Mr. Yeoman's questioning why only 2 buildings in the project were engineered to have the proposed subsurface recharge
Okay.
system.
Slow down. I'm not writing shorthand. Discussion revolved around.
Mr. Yeoman's
Yep.
Can't we just say-
questioning,
Can't we just say discussion of recharge for all buildings? Or something?
yeah,
to
that's
that
fine. In other words, the discussion revolved around not having all 4 buildings
Okay. Yep.
with a subsurface recharge system.
Okay. Got it.
And one other question on the spelling, is that name spelled correctly
Yes.
down?
Yes.
Okay,
Which name?
Wharf. WARHAFT.
Warhaft.
Yeah.
Warhaft?
Yeah. I pulled it off the town website for his address because I could not understand what he was saying. So I got on the GIS map and got his name. That's how I get everybody's names in these meetings. When you see me doing stuff, that's what I'm doing, cause I can't hear their last names. So I at least get the address.
And Matt often.
Ah,
That's right, he's OFTN, no OFTEN.
I move that we accept the meeting minutes from September 21st, 2023 as amended.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote. Mr. Yeomans,
Yes,
Ms. Bizwas,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. The September 21st, 2023 minutes are,
I think Matt Often's name is spelled correctly. You're saying it's
I
not?
thought it was, well,
I thought it was spelled correctly, but
Actually, it may only be one T.
yeah, I'll double check it. I'll check his spelling.
I'm gonna get it right now.
here.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh,
Okay. Had it right.
Well, one T.
Yeah.
All right, and then, I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of September 28th, 2023 as submitted.
second,
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Yeomans,
yes,
Ms. Bizwas,
yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
yes.
Chairman votes yes. So, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn under old business, just a really quick update, I was reminded after reading the minutes, for Adams Road, we approved the notice of project change provisionally, that they get approval, from Tetra Tech of some certain conditions. And I was given the, authority to, give them the, go, no-go. Tetra Tech reviewed, they did not submit what Tetra Tech had requested in their letter, the one that we tied the decision to. They submitted a second set of stuff, and Tetra Tech base came back again and said, still, they haven't done what we've asked them to do. So they still do not have the okay to start work. That's the latest on that. And that was, I think, sometime last week that we said no again.
Yeah, last week.
So, okay.
Thanks for the update, though. I wondered if they had started down there or what.
They're chomping at the bit. They want to,
Right.
but I mean, I think they've been pretty clear with what's needed, and they haven't done it. So I've said no. I move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion
Second.
made and seconded. Mr. Yeomans,
yes.
Ms. Bizwas,
Yes.
Mr. McCusker,
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Chairman votes yes. We're adjourned.